Welcome to Mace-Splaining. Today's subject, what are the Pirates doing? What are the Pirates doing? What do they want? Who are they? How are they? When are they? Those are the questions we are going to try to ask and answer today. As I just mentioned, Derek Shelton, manager of 5+ years, was relieved of his duties, and I believe Don Kelly's taken over for him, which ex-player should maybe he was lined up to be the next guy. Not quite certain, but I want to determine how much of it had to do with Derek and what Derek did, or how much does it have to do with the Pirates and what they do all the time, or maybe more aptly, what they don't do. All right, they stuck with Derek Shelton for 5 years. Okay, 5+ years. He had a record of 306 and 440. Okay, I don't believe there was a winning record in there. At no point was there a winning record. Okay, I don't think that's fully his fault. I think that they have an issue. They have lots of big glaring issues. They do things that good teams do well really poorly, and they don't seem to focus on it too much either. And we're going to get a little bit more into the weeds. So managers have varying amount of influence on wins or losses, depending on the organization, okay? Some organizations are run very, very heavily from the front office and from the analytics department. Some are run very, very heavily from the manager, and most are some sort of combination of the two. The number one thing you need, though, is a good rapport between all those levels. You are comfortable communicating, overly communicating, and making sure that everyone's on the same page and that you're doing the things, you're carrying out the plans that you guys set forward before the game started, before the season started, or whatever it is. By all accounts, that is what's happened. Unfortunately, in that chain of command, he is at the bottom. So if someone needs to take a fall, someone needs to be the martyr, it's usually the manager. And in this case, it's Derek Shelton. And that's the only way I read this. So what's the plan? And here's what I think the plan is for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Here's what I think the Pittsburgh Pirates exist for under their current ownership. And that is just to make a good, solid, consistent amount of money for Bob Nutting. It's a good investment. That's it. That's all that's happening here. And I'll tell you why. This is Bob Nutting. Yes, that is what he looks like. Bob comes from a family of newspaper owners. His great-grandfather bought a newspaper organization in 1890, and it's been in the Nutting family since. So, if you guys want to talk about inherited wealth, holy McMoly, okay? Their normal business practices are to own smaller publications, local publications like newspapers and magazines, and now they do video media a little bit more, like probably regional sports networks, regional TV stations, and to do so with and get a solid amount of money. They've actually come under flack for not investing in those businesses because what they want is just to get it to profitability and then just sit it and just make sure they're getting profits. Okay? There's some people that are obsessed with scaling. That is not Bob's MO. That's not the way that him and his family operate business. So it makes sense that going and investing into their baseball team isn't really something they're good at because they don't really do that in any of their other business. It's all about acquisitions and then adding that to the income stream. That's a viable business strategy. It just isn't very good for sports, right? Sports teams aren't great. Like, it's not very fun for the fans to have a sports team treated that way. So let's go over some statistics in the Bob Nutting era. Bob Nutting took over this team as the principal owner in 2008. Since he took over, the team is 1,306 and 1,632. Good for a .445 winning percentage. That's about the same as Derek Shelton's. So the same thing keeps on happening. Even though they've been mostly objectively bad, with the exception of 2013 to 2015, I believe, the prime McCutcheon years, they have not made the playoffs or really been near it in a while. In those 17 years, with the general not very great play, they've only changed GMs once. One time. They've had one new GM in 17 years of losing. Does that tell you that not losing is a priority? No, I think it's just comfortability. I like loyalty. Loyalty's great. I feel good for those guys that they're not worried about losing their jobs all the time. At least that's one positive thing. But the fan base deserves some winning sometimes, or some, I don't know, representation or show that you're willing to make some decisions and make some changes here. So they don't go get people to, they're not willing to change what they're doing. It's about doing the same thing over and over again and keeping the status quo and just shuffling people around. Other teams do this as well. Colorado Rockies are one. Dick Monfort says, hey, we need to be better, whatever, but he just keeps hiring the same kind of 5 people and shuffling them in circles. I'm happy for them, but sometimes you got to bring in unique outside perspectives in order to get better. You just do. I talked a lot about Jerry Reinsdorf last year with the Chicago White Sox. It's a different way where he thinks he knows everything. He wants to have input when he just doesn't understand how to build winners anymore. That's okay, but that's when you defer. That's his issue. But again, he was just shuffling Kenny Williams and the same guys around for years and years and years because he liked them and he didn't want to have to do the extra work to change the process. These teams that have struggled to change their process or bring in any outsiders to give any sort of outside information are struggling. The team that's probably resisted the longest is the Cardinals. But the Cardinals now brought in Kyle Bloom and have tasked him to be the GM in the future too. So they're slowly making changes, but these teams are run this way, like kind of mom and pop shops, smaller markets. I understand, but if you want to be successful, you have to take a couple shots once in a while. Okay, so these are the top 5 free agent contracts that Bob Nutting has ever given the go-ahead. Okay, the most they've ever paid a free agent. This is an extension. This is someone coming from another team to their team. The most they've ever paid any free agent is 3 years, $39 million to Francisco Liriano, sorry, not Lindor, in 2014. That was 11 years ago. Second is Ivan Nova, 3 year, $26 million. Russell Martin is the third highest, 2 years, $17 million. Carlos Santana from a couple years ago in 2022, 1 year, $6.725. And Andrew Heaney is the 5th highest of all time this year with a 1 year, $5 million. Are you serious? You have to sign a free agent. You have to. Anyone. Like someone. 3 year, $39 million. Are you kidding? That is ridiculous. And, I mean, Liriano wasn't too bad, at least in the first year of that, but it didn't really pan out. So, number one problem with Bob Nutting. They don't sign anyone in free agency is literally off the table. Like they're like, no one in free. No, we're not going to do it at all. No, I don't want to. Okay, I guess that's what we're doing. Okay, but Bob Nutting and free agency is one big issue. You know what the second big issue is? They don't trade very good. Here's a bunch of trades they have done in the Nutting area. You tell me if they've gone well. Chris Archer for Travis Glasnow, Austin Meadows, and Shane Baz in 2018. I would say that one didn't work out for, well, I would say whoever has those 3, because all 3 of those guys, Austin Meadows now not playing, Shane Baz is getting his first full season with Tampa, and Tyler Glasnow's with the greatest team on the planet. None of them are with the teams they were with, well, Baz is, but where's Chris Archer? Not great. Garrett Cole traded for Joe Musgrove, Colin Moran, Michael Felice, and Jason Martin. Joe Musgrove had some good innings there, but I would say Garrett Cole going over and becoming a Cy Young caliber pitcher immediately would be an indictment of the Pirates and a big check in the Astros side of things. They also traded Andrew McCutchen away for Brian Reynolds and Kyle Crick. I would say this one's okay. Brian Reynolds is now their highest paid player. So, and they have McCutchen back. So this one worked out okay. Jason Bay was traded in 2008 for Andy LaRoche, Brandon Moss, Craig Hansen, and Brian Morris. Okay? And Nate McLouth in 2009 for Charlie Morton, Jeff Locke, and Gorky Hernandez. Now, Charlie Morton, Jeff Locke, Gorky Hernandez all had a little bit of big league time, none of which was super productive for the Pirates. Morton was okay, but not really a big deal. Other than that, nothing. Nothing. It's all little stuff. These are the biggest attempts at making a blockbuster trade, and none of them have panned out. So, not great at making trades, and they've had 2 GMs this whole time. So it's the same guys making the decisions. But they also don't draft very well. Okay? Here's the last 10 years of first rounders. Now, one caveat. Paul Skeens is in here. But I gotta be very clear here. Paul Skeens was I'm not giving anyone credit for knowing Paul Skeens was gonna be Paul Skeens. Like, that's crazy. He's insane. He's insanely good, and it surprises absolutely no one he's this good. But here are their last 10 years of first rounders, okay? We have Connor Griffin and Levi Sterling in 2024. 2023 was Paul Skeens. Thumbs up there. 2022, Tamar Johnson, still an opportunity to be a very good player. Thomas Harrington. Henry Davis, 2021, he is the backup catcher right now. Nick Gonzalez is their current shortstop. 2020 with Carmen Lozinski, who is currently starting pitching for them. Quinn Priester and Sam Asiani were 2019. 18 was Travis Swaggerty and Gunnar Hoglund. Hoglund is now up with the A's. Shane Boz is 2017. Will Craig was 2016. And 2015 was Kevin Newman and Brian Hayes. Okay, so let me give you some statistics on these. Out of everyone I just mentioned, there's 16 players. They've gotten 23.7 B WAR. Just WAR, actually, just WAR in general, MLB WAR. That's almost 24 wins out of every first rounder in the last 10 years. Just so you know, that's on the lower side. You want to hit half of them. 7 of the 16 have never appeared in a big league game for the Pirates. Of the 9 who have, only 4 have a positive WAR. Of everyone in this list, the 4 guys with the positive WAR are Paul Skeens, Brian Hayes, Carmen Lozinski, and Kevin Newman. Everyone else has produced less than replacement level at the big league level. Now, is this drafting or is it development? Well, it's probably both. It's probably both. Because, like I said, the same regime is making the same decisions and have been in the same places. Let me be very clear here. I'm sure they're very nice people, right? I'm sure they work very hard. I'm sure they have ideas. I'm sure they have the type of thing, they're doing their best with what they have, right? Doesn't help when you have an owner that you just simply cannot go to for resources. You can't. He's just not going to do it. Okay? So you kind of have to figure it out on your own. So you got to get creative. You got to garage sale it a little bit, right? But still, other teams that are in that same situation somehow can figure it out, but they can't. And sometimes maybe you just got to go hire some analytics people for a lot less money than players are. If you don't want to spend money on players, you have to spend money on staff. It's just the way that it is, on tools, on forward thinking, and they don't do that. They just don't do it. So unfortunately, Pirates fans, nothing is going to change until Bob Nutting stops treating the Pittsburgh Pirates like one of his newspapers. But he's a billionaire, and his family's been very wealthy for over 120 years. So if you think anything's going to change, it probably isn't. And I'm sorry to say, it is what it is. So what are the Pirates doing? I don't know. We're just chilling.